What is guilt? When you have desires, you have guilt as well. Guilt is the opposite face of desire. Sometimes you feel guilty about desiring something because you feel it is not right to desire it. Other times you feel guilty when your desires are fulfilled because you feel you are not deserving of what you receive. When your desires do not come true, you feel guilty because you feel you have not done what you ought to have. Desires invariably lead to guilt. Guilt is nothing but your past decisions and actions being reviewed with your updated intelligence. For example, when you were in school, you might have said a few mean things to one of your friends which caused a relationship to break. Now, this many years later, with the intelligence that you have, is it right to review that incident and feel guilty? No. At that time you had only that much intelligence, so you behaved in that fashion. Now you have updated intelligence. It doesn't make sense to review the past with your present intelligence. The futility of the past. What is gone is gone. What has been done is done. You cannot undo it. Now, if you constantly think about the past and feel guilty, you destroy your present and your future too. Nothing can be done about it, so guilt is useless. What can you do? All that you can do is not repeat the same pattern again, that's all. At that time, with whatever intelligence you had, you acted, that's all. The past is always past. It is always dead. That is why it is called past. Yet we always let the past affect us. How do we allow the past to affect us? In two ways. One, if you review your past incidents or decisions using the present intelligence, you will create guilt in your being. Two, if you base your present decisions on past experiences, you will be repeating the same past into the future also, maybe in a little updated fashion. Even though you might not commit exactly the same mistake, you will be moving in the same experiential level, in the same plane. Our mind falls into a groove, a track, a mindset that forces it to do what it has always done. So we keep making the same mistakes as well. Three kinds of guilt. There are three kinds of guilt that take root in us and kill our intelligence. 1. Guilt created by immediate family. 2. Guilt created by social laws. 3. Guilt created by ourselves. Guilt created by immediate family. Before the age of 7, guilt is created by your immediate family. If you don't do according to your parents' wishes, they instill guilt in you. They tell you that God will not approve of what you are doing. Poor God, he has to support whatever anyone says about him. Or your parents tell you that you should respect their wishes as parents. Immediately you feel guilty of making them unhappy. In this way, family sows the first guilt in you. You in turn pass it on to your child. Like a crown, it is passed on over generations. Because you don't have the knowledge to explain why things have to be done in a certain way, you change it to a rule and impose it on the child and create guilt through it. For example, children love whirling. They love moving and flowing with the body. It is a natural way for them to center their energy. But what do? We stop the child and put the fear in him that he may fall. We don't stop our efforts until we make the child stiff, frozen, and dull like us. The child may want to go outside and play in the sun or collect some flowers or just jump around in the fresh air. If you think about it, it is not much the child is asking for. But the mother says, no. He may fall ill due to the hot sun. If you look a little deep, you can see that by saying no, she gets a subtle feeling of power, of being in control. She might say it is the sun, but it is subtler than that. The no by the mother actually has a deep impact on the child. It creates guilt in the child. Now, the child may force himself to stay in or he may escape from his mother's eyes and step out. But either way, his raw energy is being suppressed. If he forces himself to stay in, his energy is not being allowed to express. If he goes out, he will feel guilty. He will be afraid that somebody might spot him. And all this for nothing big, just for playing in the sun. As the child grows, this deep engram of guilt will actually settle inside him. Even after he grows up into a man and becomes independent, he may be sitting in the lawn under the sun, and those childhood memories may be triggered. He may feel guilty and uneasy for no reason. There is nothing to feel guilty about just sitting in the lawn, but the old memories are awakened. This is how guilt arises. Small incidents like this collect and make guilt your natural way of life. Guilt and happiness. Why can't we enjoy and encourage the natural joy and happiness the child lives in? If you look a little deep, you can see that happiness itself has become associated with guilt. A small child knows nothing of guilt. He is just wild and natural. That is why seeing a small child can be so captivating. He is total in whatever he does. He has not been introduced to the mask of civilization. He is still wild. That is why he is so full of energy. He is overflowing with joy and curiosity. He is just vibrating with the energy bubbling inside him. The child wants to enjoy everything, but the parents are filled with the conditionings of society like guilt, seriousness, hypocrisy. The child wants to shout and jump and dance. That is his natural expression. But the adults stop him. Don't shout. It is bad manners. You should be civilized. You should carry yourself well like us, by and by. The notion of being free and happy is itself associated with feelings of guilt. Guilt created by society. From 7 to 14, society creates guilt in you through its rules. The guilt, based on fear, is created by social laws. Till the age of 14, family and society create guilt for you. An important guilt in this is the guilt of sex. Parents or family never open out the topic of sex. When there is a chemical change happening in you, you feel your body is new. A lot of questions arise and clarity is needed, but no one is prepared to give it. And to add to the confusion and desire, the media around you constantly bombards you with fantasies in that vulnerable age of change. To add to it, society instills in you the feeling that you are not enough unto yourself. It makes you feel guilty of what you are, what you do. Once it convinces you that you are a sinner, you are caught in its grips. Then you cannot enjoy the joy of life anymore. According to me, guilt is the greatest sin. At least other sins will punish you after your death. Guilt will punish you when you are alive. The Tibetan poet Saint Milarepa sang, "My religion is to live and die without regret." You are called a saint or a sinner only by society. As long as society labels you a saint, you are a saint. The moment society labels you a sinner, you are a sinner. If you kill someone in society, you will be called a murderer. You will be punished. But if you kill someone on the battlefield, you will be called a hero. You will be given a big award. So there is no absolute scale to decide what is right and what is wrong. It is society's own logic, the means to exploit. People who create rules and regulations in order to create guilt and you hide their personal lives because it would be completely opposite to the rules set up by them. But they set up the rules so they can exploit you through guilt. Once you have the idea of guilt sown in you, you can be exploited easily by society. That is why guilt is the first thing that society sows in you. A guilty person can never be at ease with himself. He will always lack self-confidence. He will always look for a leader for guidance. This is where society steps in and exploits him. Society functions on your guilt. The more you feel guilty, the more society becomes powerful. It attracts you with the keys to get you out of the guilt it put inside you in the first place. First it creates the disease, then it sells the medicine. Another important thing is that only people who don't practice or can't practice teachings give teachings to others continuously. They give them more and more words. When you yourself overflow with words and find you are not able to practice them, you catch others and start teaching the same words. Actually, it is a nice way of escaping from guilt. By making others feel guilty, you don't feel the guilt. It is just a chain process. A small story. Once 4 monks sat around a candle and decided to meditate in absolute silence for the next 5 days, looking at the wick of the candle. At the end of the first day, suddenly the candle started to flicker. One monk blurted out, "Oh no, the candle is about to go out." The second monk told the first, "Remember, we were not supposed to talk." The third monk blurted out, "Why do you both keep talking?" Finally, the fourth monk exclaimed, "I am the only one who did not talk." When we point out other people's mistakes, we don't realize we may be guilty of exactly the same thing. If we look in, we will find that in many situations where we correct others, We are also guilty of the same mistake, but because we are in a so-called higher position, we escape the guilt. The dilemma. Guilt means you have done something which others don't want you to do. If you don't listen to society and listen to your natural intelligence, you feel guilty of doing something wrong. You are afraid and start defending yourself. You even pretend that you have not done it. You are in constant tension with life. Instead, if you do something that others approve, you are not happy doing it because it is most often not what you naturally feel like doing. This is the dilemma you are caught in. Guilt creates a dual personality, a schizophrenia in you. To the outside world, you are one person, and deep down inside yourself, you are another. Guilt is a wedge inserted into your inner space, which makes you take on double standards. Heaven and hell. A very subtle and cunning way of sowing guilt today is through the idea of heaven and hell. People exploit your fear and greed by showing you ideas of hell and heaven. They create in you greed for heaven and fear for hell. They create so many concepts of hell and heaven and sell them to you. They say, if you practice these types of things, you will be rewarded with heaven. If you practice otherwise, you will be punished with hell. When you are given rules based on greed and fear, you automatically start creating deep guilt in you. A small story. Once a military general asked a Zen master, "Master, what are heaven and hell?" The master asked, "What do you do for a living?" The general replied, "I am a general." The master just laughed. "Which idiot asked you to be a general? You look more like a butcher." The general was furious and took out his sword shouting, "I will cut you to pieces." The master just raised his hand and said, "These are the gates of hell." The general realized his folly and bowed down deeply to the master for forgiveness. The master continued, "These are the gates of heaven." Be very clear, heaven and hell are not physical locations. They are psychological states of your mind. One instant the mind may be in hell, and the next it may be in heaven. The gates to heaven and hell open and close at any time alternately. Guilt created by you. Till the age of 21, knowledge from family and society creates guilt. After 21, the guilt sown in you by family and society grows roots inside you. Then you start creating guilt for yourself without any reason. Guilt becomes a permanent guest in your being. The guilt created by family and the guilt created by society are imposed guilt. They are like a crown that is passed on from one generation to another. The third guilt is the worst. It is the one which you create for yourself. When you internalize guilt based on greed and fear, you create new types of guilt for yourself. The moment you start feeling guilty about something, you can be exploited. And when you start fighting with yourself, it is easier to exploit you. If you look into your life, you can see how every moment you are subtly looking for some reason to fight with yourself, to feel discontent with yourself. You cannot remain without some conflict. You want to create misery for yourself because that is what you have been taught. Happiness is a sin, the stone of guilt in the river of your mind, the block in the flow of intelligence. You are designed to move like a freely flowing river. Guilt is like the rocks in the path of the water. Society has subtly branded happiness as a sin. That is the problem. That is why you will notice, when everything is going smoothly and happily, there will be a lurking feeling of guilt in you. You are taught by society that being happy and enjoying life is being irresponsible in a way, so you feel guilty. But when you feel sad and depressed, do you ever feel guilty? No. You are taught that life is a chain of suffering and endurance, with happiness stepping in once in a while. This is also why people can't take it when you are happy and smiling all the time. They try their best to bring you back to the so-called reality by instilling guilt in you. When you are enjoying, dancing, or relaxing at the beach, for example, suddenly you will observe guilt starts rising in you about all the work that is pending, about all the responsibilities that need to be fulfilled. Guilt has no basis, but it can destroy your whole life. If you can live without guilt, you will enjoy every moment without any regret and still fulfill all your responsibilities. The problem is that your being is a crowd of voices that don't belong to you. It is a totality of your mother's voice, your father's voice, your teacher's voice, your neighbor's voice, and whatnot. All these voices are in there. If there is only one voice, you will never have any problem. Your mind will move like a river. But there are so many voices telling you so many things and creating the rocks of guilt in your path. As long as you flow like a river, you will express extraordinary intelligence in your life. You will live with an energy that is overflowing every minute. The moment you allow guilt in you, the moment you are stopped in your free flow, you create energy clots inside your being.